everything you hold on to will bring you pain. Why? It is our nature. It is the nature when you lose something that you've been holding on to, you no longer have it. What happens? You have a void. There's something missing. And now you have anxiety, you have pain, you have anger, you have, if it's something you didn't want to hold on to and it's gone, you have joy, right? But all of those things are very fleeting. And they all talk about our nature as a person. We have, in our lives, a chance to choose. We always choose. The reason we have choice is not because we have a single nature. The reason we have choice is because we have two natures. Now, you've always been taught man has one nature, one single nature, a nature that's here, that without salvation is doomed. I'm going to tell you, you have two natures, and the nature of you is twice. You have two natures because you choose. You can choose to do well or not do well. If you can look at yourself without that judging quality that I first talked about, then you can look at other people without that same judging quality. So what is you looking at you? Looking at just the plain you. Looking at without the qualities, the good or the bad, without any judgment, just looking at you as a person. And asking yourself, who am I? It is one of the most difficult questions in Buddhism to ask. Who am I? If I ask you who you are, how many of you are going to say what you do? I'm a Buddhist monk. That doesn't tell you who I am. That just tells you what I am. So who are you? And you ask yourself, who am I? And you have to do that periodically. You have to take a good inventory of yourself. Every once in a while, a good moral inventory of who you are. Why would I use morality or the word morals in Buddhism when there's not a focus of God? It is the same standard the Buddha tried to teach us that I tried to teach you. He told us it is not the threat of heaven or hell why he teaches morality. He teaches morality because it is the right thing to do. Morality is the right thing to learn because it is the right thing to do. Each of us knows that. We have choices. We've always had choice. Whether you believed in the very beginning, in the first part of your life, whether you knew you had more than one nature or not, is part of your past. You know you have two natures. You know you have the ability to choose because you've chosen all of your life. Everywhere in your life you've chosen. You've chosen the person you want to be with. You've chosen the colors that you want to wear. You've chosen the food you wish to eat, the schools you wish to go to. They're all choices. So why shouldn't it be that you have choices all throughout your life? That is our nature. It is the nature of humans to choose. That is a problem for us because it causes grasping and clinging and holding on to. Because if you choose wrong, it brings you pain. If you hold on to something longer than you needed to hold on to it, it brings you pain. Looking at ourselves throughout all of our lives, we have to take a good inventory of our skills. And choice is a skill. Very much a skill, and you have to learn. It is easier to choose wisely when you use yourself as the example. So look at yourself first. Choose yourself first. Choose for you first. It's the same thing every single wise sage has said throughout time. Do well. In Buddhism, there's a prayer, a type of meditation called metta. That meditation starts off with, may I be happy. May I be well. May I be free. And you grant those things to yourself. When you look at yourself in meditation, don't look at yourself critically. May I be happy. May I be well. May I be free. When you look at others in meditation, don't be critical. May they be happy. May they be well. May they be free. It's the same story every single prophet in the world has tried to tell us. And we attach all sorts of things to that so we can hold on to certain ideas. The idea is not to believe in this or believe in that. The idea is to take yourself as the fundamental center and make it better. Because from you, goodness comes. And from you comes the ability to generate goodness. When you sit in meditation and look at yourself, take a good inventory of who you are, and you learn who you are. Who benefits from this? You do. Your life becomes easier. Your life becomes more simple, becomes simplified. But the benefactors are all of us, because all of us benefit from you being a good person. I know you've never heard that before. And you've never heard anyone tell you, pat yourself on the back for being in a good spot. Thank yourself for making right decisions. Because certainly the rest of us aren't going to walk up to you and say, you know, you've done a wonderful job coming here this evening. Right? No one is going to tell you this, right? No one's going to say, you're in the perfect spot and we can enjoy you. So you have to do that. So you say, may I be happy. May I be well. May I be free. And practice to choose between those two natures. Those two natures are very important. And they both exist. In the West, even though the churches tell us we only have one nature, in the West we know. We've seen the cartoons. The little bad devil and the good devil. Right? And you're just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. To be good or to be bad. To be good or to be bad. How many times have you seen that? How many times have you been faced with that? It's our way of trying to tell you the same thing that all the other faiths in the world have tried to tell you. And that is, you have choice. Choice. A couple of you have heard this. When the children come here for retreats, I tell them the same thing to start off with. At the beginning of the retreat, that you have choice, and you have two natures. And some of them who have been born Buddhists and brought up Buddhists, they all go, oh, of course. And I'll ask them, then why do you choose this way and not this way? And you know what they'll say? Sometimes it's hard to choose. Sometimes it's more fun to do something bad than it is to do something good. I said, that's why you're a kid. It's this time you use to separate what you should be doing from what you should not be doing. So I always tell them, little Jimmy Chin goes to his grandfather and he says, Grandfather, sometimes I do really, really good. And his grandfather says, yes, you are your grandfather's grandson. And he runs off and he plays, and he comes back a little bit later and he says, Grandpa, and his grandfather says, yes. He said, sometimes I do bad things. And his grandfather said, well, there is a little of your grandmother in you. And then he takes off and he goes and he plays. And he comes back later and he says, you know, Grandpa, one of the things I really want to know is, why do I do that? Why do I choose that? Why do I pick sometimes to do the wrong thing and sometimes to do the right thing? And his grandfather said, because inside of you, him being Chinese, inside of you there are two dragons, a good dragon and a bad dragon. How do you explain two natures to a child? Good dragon, bad dragon. It works, right? He says, okay. And he runs off, and then he comes back a little bit later. A lot of running around in this story. Comes back a little bit later and he says, they fight? He said, yes, little Jimmy, they fight a lot, all the time. And he says, really? He said, yes. How hard is it for you to choose which one? He said, they fight a lot, Grandpa. So he goes off and he comes back a little bit later and he's been thinking about things. And he asks his grandfather, which one wins? And his grandfather looks at him, puts his arm around him and says, the one you feed. That's the one that wins. The one you feed. So for us, we're just like little Jimmy or little Jenny. The one we feed is the one that works. The one we feed is the one we become. Our lives are filled with choices. When you sit in meditation, you take all of those things, and they are everything that you are, that you have been, and everything that you're working towards, and it's sitting there on that cushion. Everything that you've done has brought you to this point. Everything. All the good choices, all the bad choices, all the happy moments, all the sad moments, all the joyful moments, all the grieving moments, all those things have brought you here. In this space, with us, at this moment. Do you realize that? Your life is always at the point of where it should be because everything has brought you to that moment. Everything. So why do we meditate? We meditate to look at ourselves and to learn who we are. Because we are worth it. Because we are human beings and we are filled with energy. And that energy that we choose to be is a loving, kind energy. All of our lives are filled with moments of choice. Choice. And when you think you're backed into a corner, always remember there is another choice. And when someone asks you, why don't you do this, or why don't you do that, or why do you do this, or why do you do that, think about it. Don't react immediately. Look at the choices you've made to get you to that point, and continue the choice or don't. Be the person who is best for you. Continue to make choices that benefit you, because those are the ones that benefit us. You are kind, you're equanimous, you are filled with love, filled with kindness. All those things exist. Also filled with grief and sadness, but you're also filled with joy and happiness. You need to choose in your life which things bring you joy. And let go of those things that bring you pain and harm. And then, when you're attached to all the good things, then we'll tear all those down too. Right? Because it's attachment that brings you grief. I promise you, if you look back in your life, which is what you try to do in that meditative spirit, when you look back in your life, you look at all the moments when you were the saddest, all the moments when something terrible had happened, whether you're 18 or 17, or whether you're 74, whether you're 60, or whether you're 15, or whether you're 21, whatever the age is, whatever. You look back to that moment and remember it, like some of you are doing right now, you will realize the reason that pain was there is because you were attached to whatever is gone. How do you take away all the attachments? You can't. Some attachments you have to decide for yourself. And you do that by sitting and thinking. Some attachments are going to be there no matter what happens. Love of parents, love of boyfriends, girlfriends, sisters, brothers, children, animals. Sometimes you have to grant yourself that that person is going to bring you pain when they leave. And make it acceptable. Let it be acceptable for you. But the things that bring you pain that you don't need to hold on to, let it go. Let them go. Our nature, believe it or not, is to hold and to grasp. And the reason it's so is because we try to hold on to everything that's good. So everything that happens, we hold on to. We become a reservoir for everything that's ever happened. Let them go. Don't breed addiction in your own family, in your own life, and in who you are. Just let it go. Sit quietly in meditation and take a look at who you are. You're going to find, honestly, that you're not going to like everything that you find. But one of the sweetest things about Buddhism is that your karma is not written in stone. It changes every single day. How do you know this? Because everything you've done has brought you to this point right here, on this cushion that you're sitting, has brought you here. It's not meant to be painful. It's just meant to be. So make choices. Practice equanimity. Practice love. Love yourself. May I be happy. May I be well. May I have peace. May the peace I have be shared with all of you. I wish